I recently posted my worst cruise ever, so I thought I'd post about my best cruise ever, just to even things out. And my favorite activity on the ship will probably surprise you. I'm setting a dangerous precedent with this video, because I've basically been publicly shamed into doing it. That's right, a lot of people told me that I shouldn't be so negative by only posting about my worst cruise ever. And you know what? They're right. I should totally tell you about my best cruise ever, especially because the lesson I learned from it can help you choose the right cruise for your family. So today, I'm happy to tell you why the NCL Escape out of New York City was without a doubt my all-time favorite cruise so far. And the reasons might actually surprise you. First off, like all NCL ships, I love the look of the Escape because it actually looks like a ship, and not just like a giant floating city like some of the other big ships. Don't get me wrong, I love those mega ships too because they usually have even more things to do. But personally, I just feel like the NCL ships have a classy, almost old school look to them. I've been on the NCL Bliss too, and I will admit that the Bliss has more things to do, like go-karts. But the Escape has a cool climbing ropes course where you can even dangle off the side of the ship, which for the record, I didn't do. But the reason I love this cruise more than the Bliss is because the Escape goes out of New York City. So for me, that means I don't have to take a long flight to get to the ship. It's so much easier, and I think that's maybe a helpful tip that I can share with you. If possible, choose a ship that goes out of a port that is a drivable distance. Because with flight delays and things like that, if you fly, you really might want to go a day early, just in case your flight is delayed. But that also means more money for a hotel and taxis or Ubers, and also just the hassle of it. This cruise on the Escape took us to Bermuda, which is another reason why I loved it. Bermuda is an absolutely gorgeous island with lots to do, and it's also really easy to get around. All we wanted to do was check out the pink sand beaches, and there are taxis right at the port that will take you there. The people were very friendly too, and I also liked that the port itself had a ton of shops and restaurants, and even stuff for history buffs. So we spent a lot of time there as well. Another thing I loved about this cruise is that we stayed in Bermuda for 2 nights. A lot of cruises to Bermuda do this. That enables you to see more of the island and not feel so rushed. And it's also nice because then, after your first day in Bermuda, you'll probably get back to the ship and hear other people talking about things that they did that you didn't do. But then you still have that extra day to do those other things too. So you don't walk away from your cruise with a serious case of FOMO. And when we went to Alaska on the Bliss, which was absolutely amazing, we definitely had a case of ongoing FOMO because there's just so much to do that you'd never see everything in the ports or on just one cruise. But with Bermuda, we sailed away feeling really satisfied. The food is incredible on NCL ships. There are lots of family-friendly options, so I always felt welcome. I also love the teen room, which is called Entourage. They had great staff and made sure that even introverts like me were given every opportunity to make new friends. I literally couldn't get enough time in Entourage. I barely saw my parents at all on days when we weren't in a port, which was a bonus for them because that meant they got to have some alone time too. And right next to Entourage is the arcade. And at least at the time of my sailing, they had the most addictive Star Wars game ever. It's called the Star Wars Battle Pod, and it's one of those immersive types of games where you actually go inside of a pod and really feel like you're in a TIE fighter. I never really thought I'd say that a Star Wars activity was one of my top 5 things to do on an NCL cruise, since you'd think that that would be on a Disney ship, since they own Star Wars. But wow, it was a great surprise to my Star Wars loving family, and we spent way too much money playing the Battle Pod. So if you're going on the Escape, Be sure to ask NCL if they have the battle pod in their arcade, because you'll want to set aside a little extra spending money for that if you are a Star Wars addict like me. And you'll also see in the arcade a kind of air hockey called Super Pac-Man. I want to tell you about it, but there's a surprise involved in the game, and I don't want to spoil it for you. So all I'll say is, if they still have Super Pac-Man air hockey, you absolutely must play it. Anyway, I think the lessons I learned from this cruise that made it my best ever were things that might help you plan a cruise too. Pick a ship that has lots to do and plenty of food options, but also consider choosing a ship that is fairly easy for you to access. And definitely think about doing a cruise that stays in port at the same destination for 2 or 3 nights, rather than just a matter of hours. Because you'll really get to explore more than you normally would with a lot less racing back to the ship. The NCL Escape had everything we really wanted and a lot less stress. Don't get me wrong, the Bliss trip to Alaska was easily my second favorite cruise ever, and probably the one that I'd be most likely to repeat, because Alaska is really epic. And there's still so much I want to see there. But just the convenience of this one and being able to relax more made our NCL Escape cruise just a bit better in my mind. And that Battle Pod and Super Pac-Man air hockey pushed it right into a solid first place. Though my parents, for the record, would totally vote for the NCL Bliss in Alaska. I hope this helps you plan your next cruise. If you liked this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.